What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Is Russia preparing for a larger war with the West, with the United States, and with NATO? Well, a lot of people are thinking this is the next step. Take a look here. Okay, first, Russia is building up forces at Western borders to counter NATO threat. The Russia Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu says. The defense minister says that he claimed the collective West is, quote, waging a proxy war against Russia in the opening remarks to Russia's Ministry of Defense, saying here that Russia is planning to build up its forces at its western borders following Finland's joining of NATO, which just happened. And really, Finland was what most people think forced to join NATO. This came after Vladimir Putin threatened them with nuclear weapons. Finland has been neutral for decades. However, Finland was invaded by Russia here previously in what was known as the Winter War. Take a look here. Yeah, the Winter War was a war between the Soviet Union, aka Russia, USSR, and Finland. The war began with a Soviet invasion of Finland back in 1939, the beginning of World War II, 3 months after the outbreak of World War II, and ended 3.5 months later after the Moscow Peace Treaty, March 40th. Despite superior military strength, especially in tanks and aircraft, the Soviet Union suffered severe losses and initially made little headway. Does that sound familiar? The League of Nations deemed the attack illegal and expelled the Soviet Union. The Soviets made several demands, including Finland cede substantial border territories in exchange for land elsewhere. Does that sound familiar? Claiming security reasons, primarily the protection of Leningrad from the Finnish border. When Finland refused, the Soviets invaded. Does that sound familiar? More sources conclude that the Soviet Union had intended to conquer all of Finland. Again, how familiar does this sound? Does history repeat itself? And cite the establishment of a puppet Finnish communist government and the secret protocols of evidence of this, while other sources argue against the idea of a full Soviet conquest. But nonetheless, Russia invaded Finland. Finland repelled Soviet attacks for more than 2 months and inflicted substantial losses on the invaders in temperatures as low as -45 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, this may sound very familiar because this is very similar to what is happening in Ukraine. Russia thought that they would just go in there, take over the country, and they would have it in a matter of weeks or surely a quick few months. And here we are almost a year and a half later, and they're still there. Now, that didn't even last that long in Finland. After that, Finland decided to remain neutral, but here we are decades, many decades later, and Finland got threatened yet again with nuclear war from Russia, this time Vladimir Putin, and they said, you know what, we're not going to have that happen again. And in a recent poll from Finns, over 75% of Finns said, we want to join NATO now, up before when it was only 25% when they wanted to remain neutral. Yeah, and the only change is that Vladimir Putin started threatening Finland with nuclear bombs. And then they started to remember what happened back in 1939. And they said, you know what? Yeah, we would rather join NATO and have the protection of 30 other countries. So Finland, Sweden said, yes, we're going to join NATO. We're not going to have that BS happen again. Yeah, Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because honestly, Russia's been pulling this stuff for decades, no matter who the leader is. So this is exactly what they did with Crimea, except for Crimea wasn't big enough to hold them back. And now this is what they're doing in Ukraine. And they always have a story. It's always, oh, we're there to protect them from themselves. We're there because they're Nazis. We're there to, Finland because, oh yeah, we're just gonna invade them and protect them from themselves. They're Nazis too, oh, I mean, whatever the reason they come up with, right? Yeah. And if you watch my previous video, Russian state TV just said that they're gonna take over Paris, Berlin, and more. I'll link you to that video here next. You can watch that, because honestly, this is Russia's MO. They want to take over Europe. They want to put back the old USSR, old Russia, and conquer more. This is the same thing Hitler wanted to do. But this is what Hitler almost did if the world and all of Europe wouldn't have banded together. They want to take over country after country after country, have a massive army, and you can let me know the rest in the comments. History shows this. You can see this. They invaded other countries. They're doing it now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, please. So Russia's defense minister has also noted that Poland has also announced plans to strengthen its military, as he expected significant NATO forces and weaponry to be deployed against Finland. And yeah, they have. You know why? Don't go invade another country. Don't go invade Poland. Don't go invade Finland. They're not your country to take. Just like when Russia said, oh, top Russian lawmaker threatens to reclaim Alaska. But, well, yeah, what do you think we're going to do? Do you think the U.S. is just going to let you go in there and take it? Do you think Finland's going to let you go in there and take Finland? Do you think Poland's going to let you go in there and take Poland? And my wife just said in the background, what would Russia do if somebody went in there and just started taking over Russia? Would Russia like this? And oh, you see the few attacks that Ukraine has done inside Russia, and they claim, oh, barbarism, and oh, it's absolute, brutality. Oh my God, we're gonna have to, go back and get them. It's an absolute nightmare. And I'm thinking, these three, four, five little attacks versus a year and a half of what Russia's been doing to Ukraine, to schools and hospitals, maternity wards, playgrounds, apartment buildings with thousands of people, and a couple drone attacks on Russia. And they're like, oh my God, it's the worst thing that ever happened to us. And I'm thinking, you gotta be kidding me, right? Yeah, they're out there playing their fiddle, and it's like, what do you expect? Like, Ukraine can barely get a couple drones into Moscow, right? And they're like, oh my God, it's the worst thing that ever happened to us. What shall we do? And it's like, what do you expect Finland and Poland to do? You don't think they're going to put border guards on their border and build fences and mount up thousands of troops there while you're putting Wagner troops and Russian troops and tanks on the border? Hello? And it's just like, we can see the mountings of World War III building up here. Like, when you put 150,000 troops on the border of Ukraine, honestly, they should have prepared better. But the problem is there was so much fake news propaganda out there, and there were so many people, especially in YouTube comments and around the world, saying, oh, Russia's not going to attack. Russia's not going to attack. That's just fake news out there. They're not going to attack, guys. And I'm thinking, who in their right mind thinks that Russia's not going to attack with 150,000 troops and more tanks coming every single day and more troops going every single day going to the border? And then lo and behold, just like the US said, they're going to create a false flag. They're going to create a reason to go in there and attack Ukraine. And sure enough, Russia created the reason. After Russia said, we're not going to invade them, we're not going to attack them. And what did Russia do? They went against their word, they lied right through their teeth, and boom, that's what they did. I mean, come on, guys. If you see troops lining up against the border, what do you think they're going to do? And now you see troops lining up against the border of Poland and maybe even lining up against Finland now. What do you expect these countries to do? And then you see Russia like, oh my God, they're strengthening NATO. Well, again, if you see a madman in North Korea or Russia invading other countries and you were right next to them, what would you do? It's only common sense. If I was next to NATO, if I was Poland, or if I was Finland, I sure the hell would be strengthening my border too. I would have a big ass wall there. Honestly, building the wall on our southern border was a great thing. I think that everybody's kind of come to realize that now, or the vast majority have. Democrats, Republicans, independents alike. I think there's only a few people that think that that wall really wasn't a good idea at this point. I think when it first started, it was a lot of controversy. People weren't sure. People were like, oh, it's going to cost. And honestly, the cost for it in the scheme of things was a few $1 billion. I mean, we spent $800 billion a year on our military. But from what it keeps out and in, I mean, we can't just have people running across our border. I mean, we're literally like the only country that even, not that we allow that, but we're like the only country that even has that. Other countries, they literally will shoot you if you do that. I mean, think about this. Other countries, I mean, they're building border walls now. Of course, building a massive wall is time consuming. It's time consuming. So they're doing it with like barbed wire and stuff like that first. But I mean, these are the things that have to be done, guys. It's literal war there. Literal war. And when you see somebody like the Wagner Group and Russian troops and Belarusian troops mounting troops right outside your gate, when you see the enemy outside your gate, this is serious stuff. You can't be like, oh, well, Putin says that if we strengthen NATO outside his gate, that he might be mad. Well, when the wolf's outside your door, you don't leave the sheep out there. You protect yourself. I mean, look at what happened in Ukraine and is happening in Ukraine. When they mounted 150,000 troops, honestly, they should have been even more prepared. And when you've seen Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, he's a Republican. Okay, I mean, everybody knows that, but he's saying that Taiwan should have even been more prepared years ago. And now they haven't got attacked by China yet, but he's saying that we should have sold them arms, military equipment years ago when they asked for it. And we're giving them equipment now. But I honestly, one of the biggest problems we have right now as a country is we don't have enough equipment. We don't have enough ammo and all sorts of stuff. We're running out of ammo in every department, and we're not making enough. And honestly, this goes back kind of the Biden, the whole Biden everything, the whole military equipment, everything. They're not making enough. They need to be double, triple time making ammo, bombs, 150, everything. They need to be making more of everything double time because everybody needs it. We need it to replenish our reserves. Ukraine needs it. Taiwan needs it. And if anything actually happens more than it is now, we don't have enough ammo of all types. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything happening on a daily basis that you need to know about, and we'll see. Make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click here to see Russian state TV saying that they're going to take over Berlin, Paris, and more. Crazy. Or click here to see Russia and China ships teaming up coming at the U.S. That's right. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.